Kenny here with Gardening Simplified. We're going to do a little garden update. It's July 21st and we'll show you how things are looking. With all the heat that we've had here lately, the squash here isn't looking too good. It's kind of hanging in. There's still a few zucchinis coming on, but it's kind of burned up. Same thing with the peas. Of course, these were just the beans, these were afterthought. They're needing picked. Normally I don't wait till they start getting bumps. They're still good like this. They snap good. These are Blue Lake, and Blue Lake is a pretty good bean for snapping and not worrying about it getting all fibrous and stringy. As you can see, the chard, which it's still trying to hang in there, but the heat is just too rough on it. We've taken the rest of the garlic out, and basically I'm just letting this bed play itself out. I'm letting the arugula flower up so I can get seed from it, and my dinosaur kale, these plants here, that's my intent the same with it. Now, I had actually dug up one of my magic molly plants. I figured it should have had good potatoes by then, but it didn't. There was like 5 little bitty ones for it, so it didn't even make back what seed potatoes were there. I'll let this one go a little bit longer and we'll see how it does, because it still should have about 3 more weeks of growing time, so we'll see what happens there. I had taken out the biggest of these Atlantic giant pumpkins. There's still one left. This was on the same vine as the big one, so maybe it might grow a little bit more, but with the heat, it definitely wasn't to the size that we'd expect for them. We'll go back over here. This is where we did our succession planting. This was on July 1st. This Hopi turquoise corn is doing good. It's going to be a little tricky laying it by, because normally I would pull dirt up on it. I'm thinking about just composting up a little bit on it to sturdy them up, give them a little bit more to root into. These are the sunburst squash. They're doing good. They're not getting close to blooming yet, but they're coming on. These are my dragon tongue beans, and they're doing good, growing fast. Won't be that long. There is just a little bit of pest pressure on them. And this is the curry squash, red curry squash, and it's doing really good. It had a little bit of pest pressure at the start, and I took care of it, but as you can see here, and if you don't watch these are easy enough to deal with. We'll just get rid of those, and we won't have to worry about any pesticides for the bugs on there. Now this here, this was where the broccoli and cabbage and stuff was in here, lettuce. Now I planted some carrot seed, and I've covered these up. Now it's probably about a month and a half. Looks like I got a little grub here coming in. I don't need him running around. I'll have gophers or moles coming in to eat them. But anyway, it's probably about a month and a half early for putting out carrots here, and I think the main reason is germination. But like any good gardener, I like to take an experiment. So what I'm going to do is see if I can get germination and have them come in early. The dinosaur kale, it's still doing pretty good. The dahlias are finally beginning to bloom, so we'll have a few flowers there, and they have another one over here. And we've set out my bunching onions, and we'll eat some of these. These will come on. We'll eat some for table onions, and then we'll do like we did last year. We'll let them go to seed. And what I'll do, I've got the seed I saved from last year, and I'll take and plant those this fall when I plant my other onion seed. In this area here, I have planted some parsnips. Now, I've never grown parsnips, and there's no real information with growing parsnips in our area as far as the actual planting time and such as that. But I know they're slow to germinate, so we'll just have to keep them moist and see if how they do. Now, this is a new bed that was set up where we had the tarp, and then this other bed. Now this bed here is planted with succession planting of crookneck squash, yellow squash, and zucchini. So I've got close to 100-foot row of that. The cucumbers, the succession planting of them, they're growing. Now this one was planted first. The second one died. I reseeded, and the seed didn't even come up. And at the same time I planted some more, I said I'd go ahead and fill up this trellis again. But the heat is really rough on them, so they're growing slow. But hopefully they'll get rooted in so they can take off. The Cherokee purple tomatoes they're doing pretty good. Now, these nice big tomatoes. Of course, they're always kind of ugly and gnarly. I've already picked some off, especially yesterday. We got about a little over 1/10 of an inch of rain, but just enough to start them splitting, because they like to split anyway if they don't get just real even watering. But I had trimmed the suckers. I let all the suckers grow on these. I was going to do these different, and I did let them branch out into 2 or 3 main stems. But I've taken all the suckers and I potted them up, and see, I had about 40 of them. We'll see how many root up, and then we're going to go ahead and plant those out. The few little beets that were put out, that was just kind of a test thing. I was hoping that one would go to seed, and eventually it might, if they don't just burn up, because like I say, the heat is rough on them, even though they're getting watered. The peppers are still doing good. They are really pale. I'm going to say they need nitrogen added to them, but I'm still harvesting plenty of them. My tomatoes are pretty much, I'm going to say they had it. I've got to come out here and pick tomatoes today. A lot of them small, late crop, but there still are some larger ones coming on. As the tomato plants die, I'm taking them out. Now I might go ahead and I think I need to trim a few of these, trim the blight down and get them back into good and healthy, and I might leave a few if I can adjust where they're at so I can go ahead and still put in my new bed. Of course, these little sweetie cherry tomatoes, there's plenty of them, and the heat doesn't bother them. They're up about 7 foot now, and they're still putting on their little bitty tomatoes. And the bell peppers are doing good. They're suffering with the heat, but they're still producing and putting on plenty of bell peppers. Got Gigi out here helping me, and she's getting pretty good about walking between the rows. Of course, she still decides she goes over them a few times. But anyway, this here is the red curry squash, another row of it. It's doing about as good as the other, and it's probably close to 5 days or a week behind it. And then I've got some green beans in here that's coming up. They're a little spotty. And I've got some zipper cream peas. And these are the Mississippi silver skin grouter peas, or cow peas as some like to call them. And I did figure out why that was cow peas, because normally they raised them for, as my mother would say, cow fodder. So it's just food for the cows. I have the pole, these speckled limas. I have a little trellis set up, and I've taken and the easy route to fasten to them. Same little clip you use for tomatoes, but as they get big enough and they want to start climbing, I go ahead and fasten to them. Down here we have the BVR purple hull peas. They're doing good, pretty vigorous. Over this way is our our watermelon patch, and we've managed, these have, a lot of them started to actually, I'd say, rot before they got sweet enough, because how hot the sun is on them, and the way the vines aren't covering them good. So a few of them are hidden off in here, kind of tucked away under the edge, and they'll do better. This here is some buttercup squash, winter squash. Come down here, these are second planting too of sugar pie pumpkins. And then I've put a few Big Macs pumpkins in here. So these ones should be ready in the fall. And over here, I transplanted some watermelons. This was Jubilees, these two that's died. One of them's decided to take hold. Then I have a couple of Crimson Sweet in here. And then up here I have something I don't know what. These are table queen squash right in here. That's an acorn type. And I planted a couple, or about 3 hills of Waltham, or Waltham, or however you pronounce it, butternuts here. It's a little bit bigger, and I planted some of the same seed I had for my early crop of butternut in there. And of course, more butternut in here. I'm slowly getting the beds put in down to the end. And I have some candy roasters, North Georgia candy roasters that I planted here. This first year for growing them. And I put in a couple more Atlantic Giant pumpkin plants down here at the end. Hopefully they won't take over everything. But I'm slowly marking off beds, but in the process of planting seed and stuff too, it slows it down in the heat because there's only a few hours a day that you can get out here. I'm pretty good. Start out about 6 and work till about 10:30 or 11, but then can't come back out here until about 7. And down here we have our sweet potatoes. Still going strong. Some of the leaves are starting to yellow, but these should be ready probably the middle to the end of next month. We'll just see once the vines start dying back real good. We'll come in and harvest them. It's just amazing how these things grow because these vines in the middle are better than 3 feet tall where they've stacked up one on top of the other. So this is a real vigorous strain of sweet potatoes. We used to get slips. We'd order them in and they just they'd grow, they'd have sweet potatoes, but they weren't that vigorous. But these here, as you can see from these vines, they've got a nice thick heavy vine. They really root quick on their vine and they're really a healthy plant. But these were we were wintered in Arizona and we went over to California and we got some sweet potatoes and they were really good. Well, we saved 3 of them and brought them back, and that next year we used them to grow our slips, and we've been doing that ever since. And the first year we had sweet potatoes from our old crop and we just compared them, and these are just so much darker inside, more rich, and a whole lot sweeter, much better. And down here we have what's left of the Buttercup. A lot of them, the sun has cooked them and softened them. There's a few, and I have to get out here today. There's just a couple that's ripe. We'll go ahead and get these cut out before the heat gets to them and starts cooking them the same as the others. And I've been slowly picking a few of the acorn squash, these table queen, but like this one here, it's ready to come off there, but it's mighty small. But I'll go ahead and harvest it out too. The plan is to, here in just about a month, to be time to start planting some of our fall crops. So another week with the tarp on here, and we can go ahead and start making beds for this. I won't be able to complete the whole length of them because these run across this way compared to the other beds because the flow of the land it's the contour runs along here, and so what I want to do is get this water over towards this way to keep slow down the runoff speed. Even though we're on a hill, when you get a bunch of water, it's got to go somewhere. And so that would take care of that. But as soon as we get this tarp off, we'll go ahead and start over here and start running the beds over this way. But they'll actually go, there'll be a 6-foot aisle between those beds and these beds. So I'll be able to put in most of them, but I can't put them all in until the watermelons play out. And at the rate they're growing and going, that could be a while, because it's not like they're stopping production, and the bees are really working over the flowers. So there's watermelons all over in here. They're just hiding. So hopefully these ones that are shaded more will be considerably sweeter than the others. It'd just be a matter of reaching in there and finding them, because like I say, they're hidden. Now we'll go take a look at the crops that's starting for this fall. I make a little stop here at the compost pile. I keep filling it up, and it's about 4.5 feet. I'll fill it up, and it'll drop down. I fill it up, it drops down. But it's really working. It's setting up there. Actually, I just stuck that in there. It's still climbing, but it's running right about 155, which is excellent temperature. And you can really tell it if you want to grab that rod when I pull it out, because the heat really, you can really tell the temperature with your hand. Hey, let's go to those other plants. Well, we're gonna look at these seedlings over here. It's got a little noise here from the dehydrator going. I've got a batch of jerky coming on, but now I planted up a bunch of these in cells, and I'll show those in a minute, but the germination rate was real low. So what I did was I came back, and these little containers work real good. I've used them back into my spring planting. But what I do is I take and drill some holes in the bottom of them. These are just your kind of reusable or giveaway containers you'd buy at Walmart. You can buy 10 of them really cheap. But I take and plant the seeds in here. This makes an excellent greenhouse. And these have been planted 2 days ago, and you can see how good they come up. My gypsy broccoli on my other didn't come up good at all. And what I'll do is I'll let these grow up. I'll let them set in here just a little bit more, keep the moisture pretty heavy so that they can germinate, and then I'll stick them up in the windowsill. But I have all my varieties that I was wanting to plant, and I've got them all in these little containers, and some germinates faster than others. I do have a few tomato plants left here, have them rooting in. That's just an afterthought. I didn't want to throw them out. I have my others sitting out in the sun. I messed up and set them where I thought it was shady right after I potted them, and the sun got to them for a couple hours, and with it 90 something degrees, they all wilted down. And we'll take a look at those. Here's the others. I have them under the awning so they can get a little indirect sunlight. Some of these actually will not make it, and it's easy to tell the ones that's not going to when you get them like this one here. it got too much. But a lot of them have perked back up because they were really in rough condition after that first day. So I moved them in here, keeping them moist, and hopefully it won't be long they'll perk up and I can get them in partial sun and then get them out in the garden. And these are the ones that I started in starter trays, and like I say, the germination rate was really bad. And what I'll do is, these are right now they're ready to be potted up. What I'll do is just prick these out and I'll pot them up, and then they'll take off. And when you get something that's leggy looking like that, these just don't do as well in the warmer time, because in here my nighttime temperature rises because I shut the AC down and it gets up to 85 at night, so it slows them down. Now I have my basil here. I have two types. I have the purple opal, and then I have spicy clove. There's the smaller ones there. I'll move those out. I have some other herbs that are in here, and I'll move all those out too. But like I say, this is kind of a learning experience because I didn't think I'd have this bad of germination on these plants. But when you're going to do something, you need to experiment, and it either does good or it fails, and this was definitely a fail. It's real easy for me to grow my crops during the cooler months because I can keep the temperatures real cool. But when you get in here and with the grow lights, and we're setting about right at 80 degrees in here. The temperature is just above where I want it to be. And I can also see just with my basil there, the leaves are just a little bit rolled on these ones that are towards the edge. So what I'll do is I'll get all these out to where they can get sunshine from a window, and then slowly get them ready to where they can plant them out in the garden. I hope you liked this video, and I hope you found some value in it. From my failures, maybe you can learn maybe some of the techniques that I do you might can apply. I've learned a lot of mine I learned from the Hard Knocks way over time, but I've learned a lot from other people and some of their failures and some of their achievements. Do me a favor, hit the like button. That way YouTube will go ahead and bump it up there a little bit more so other people might see it. And if you like this video, just take and subscribe and hit the bell button so you'll be notified whenever they come out. And as always, happy gardening.